No response. I even included with that fax a proposed one-page, two-paragraph affidavit that would have served my purposes in this litigation. It would have simply authenticated the email and acknowledged that Mr. Namazi was an advisor to the campaign. No response. When I called again, I spoke with Greta Lundberg, L-U-N-D-E-B-E-R-G. And Ms. Lundberg encouraged me to make an appointment. That's why I was originally going to be in Washington today, because I was going to be here when Mr. Beers was back in town after traveling with the candidate, but they never called me back. I sent them another fax as recently as October 8th, saying, I've heard nothing from you. Can you at least talk to me or call me back? And they, of course, will not. I understand it's a sticky wicket for them, but from where I stand, they leave the impression that they would rather side with their friends, who are friends of the mullahs, than with forces for democracy in Iran. That's a political issue, and that's not my game.
So you believe that they're running out the clock to November 2nd? Trying to run out the clock.
The question is, do I believe they're trying to run out the clock until the election? I absolutely do, yes. The only dates that Mr. Namazi's lawyers gave us for deposition, remember, this case was filed in March. The first date that he would be available for deposition when we requested it back in July was November 10th.
We have a question for the midsection back here. One moment. Let me get the mic over there.
Has there been any discussion of a settlement between Mr. Nemazi and Mr. Pirouznia?
The question is, has there been any discussion of a settlement between Mr. Namazi and Mr. Pirouznia? Yes, ma'am. As I understand it, I was not a party to those discussions, but I understand that Mr. Namazi offered to pay Mr. Pirouznia money to make the case go away. Mr. Pirouznia...
Comment on that, because a representative for Mr. Nemazi says something very different.
I will be happy to open up the panel to that. Let me make sure that it is very clear what my client's position is with regard to settling this litigation. This is not about money. We're not going to take money, and we're not going to pay money. This is about exposing a man who has tried to remain dormant, but who filed a frivolous lawsuit and found himself in the eye of the public storm. Aryo, do you have anything you need to add to these settlement discussions? Mr. Timmerman, can you speak to these?
Yes, I think you're referring to an individual who is close to Hassan Namazi, who's been calling reporters off the record to spread slander and lies. That person is sitting here in this room. I would ask you that you identify your source for this kind of story, which is completely scurrilous and without foundation. I received one of those calls as well.
We have another question here from the second row, or did you want to respond to that first?
I've responded.
Okay, here we go.
Good morning. My question has to do with Iranian people, the majority of whom have been trying to eliminate this brutal regime of Iran and establish democracy. Now, if you offer fuel or any other relationship with Iran, doesn't it mean prolonging this regime's life and suppressing Iranian people who are fighting for democracy?
Absolutely, it does. And there's a litigation-relevant response that I need to make to that, and if any of the panel members want to respond, I would welcome it. It goes without saying that if you ease trade sanctions or normalize diplomatic relations or promote the admission of the Iranian regime into the World Trade Organization, you legitimize that government. And if you legitimize it, that's something of value to that government right now. But, sir, as a lawyer, I recognize that those were facts that might be difficult to prove, and I invited Hassan Namazi to stipulate to those very facts, and he has declined, even to those very facts. If anybody is interested, I can show you the letter that I sent where I proposed those very stipulations. And he responded to me saying, we will take those under advisement. I appreciate the question. Anything anybody need to add?
We have a question from the left section here. Go ahead.
You've identified Susan Akbakpour as having made illegal contributions to the Kerry Campaign. Has there been any communication with the FEC or any regulatory agency to pursue this matter?
We have not done that. My mission is to defend my client against a frivolous lawsuit, not to prosecute FEC violations.
In the middle here, one moment. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Mr. Timmerman passed up the opportunity to comment on the question that I raised about the precise nature of the relationship between Mr. Namazi and the Islamic Republic, and I wondered if he could characterize it in a specific way.
Yeah, you're talking about the word that was used by Mr. Pirouznia, agent, I believe. And look, I think as the lawyers have described here very clearly, this is Mr. Namazi who is filing a lawsuit. It's up to him, frankly, to define how he understands the use of the word agent. What I can tell you is this. Hassan Namazi was warned by me what it would mean to join the board of the American-Iranian Council. It was absolutely clear that this was an organization established in the United States to pursue and promote the agenda of the Islamic Republic of Iran, specifically the agenda of getting U.S. sanctions on Iran lifted and to restore economic, diplomatic, and trade relations between the United States and Iran. Mr. Namazi knew exactly that that's what the AIC was all about. I personally informed him of this before he joined the board. I said, you do not want to join the board of this organization as an Iranian American. Your fellow Iranian Americans will consider you a traitor to their cause of freedom. And yet, knowing that, consciously knowing that, aware of that, warned of that, he took the effort, he made the conscious decision to join that board and to stay on that board and to attend several fundraisers for the American-Iranian Council that supported the agenda of a rapprochement between the United States and Iran. So this was a conscious decision that Mr. Namazi made against the best advice that he could have gotten.
We have a question on the right here. Go ahead.
Mr. Timmerman, my question is that Mr. Namazi has his family wealth in Iran. Is it true that his family wealth in Iran had been confiscated like everybody else's wealth by the mullahs in Iran after the revolution? And Mr. Namazi has been managed to make deals with the Islamic regime to get his family wealth back. He doesn't need being paid by the regime in Iran. But as long as he gets his family wealth back, he can make deals with the mullahs.
Thank you for the question. As you know, a lot of Iranian Americans have gone back to Iran. They have made peace with the regime, specifically to get their assets that were stolen by this regime in 1979, 1980 back. Now, whether Mr. Namazi has actually gone back to Tehran, I don't think so. I have no information to suggest that he's actually traveled to Iran. Whether he's made a deal for his assets, that I think is going to come out in the lawsuit.
Are any of the panelists wanting to make any comments on this or any other issues here?
No, I need to not comment on that. Are there any other questions?
Any further questions or further comments from any panelists?
Indeed, people came to Dallas to see me. There are records of it, payment by credit cards, proposing, despite having sued me, some money to drop, saying to me that he will be destroying you, and hearing that if I have to go to the ground, I will reveal the true nature of those blackmailing my people and my fellow comrades. So, in that, and regarding what is the role of Mr. Namazi, I'm quoting here the Etemad Daily, published in Tehran, May 3rd, 2004. Knowing that the issue of Great Satan, meaning America in the vocabulary or jargon used by the clerical regime in Iran, meaning America, and is very taboo, especially under one of the few press allowed in Iran under extreme censorship. The last paragraph that this document is saying, Mr. Namazi and his friends have been able to neutralize the activities of those this newspaper is calling as anti-Iranian lobbies, meaning anti-Islamic Republic lobbies. This is also an affidavit that I guess you do have the translation and is going to be available. Other thing is, if I have been defaming someone, why it should be on the question, trying to intimidate us, requesting for the name of our students affiliated in Iran, unless for giving them to the hand of the mullah regime to share the faith of Batebi, Mohammedis, and thousands of others who are languishing in prisons, looking for the free word, and especially the American leadership, which all of you, I'm sure, remember, how when September 11 happened, my comrades and thousands of our countrymen get into the streets of Tehran to offer their condolences to the great people of America. They are looking to your country. I hope whomever in November, we do not have any agenda against Mr. Kerry. I don't know Mr. Kerry, or I don't know exactly Mr. Bush. But what I know one thing is that Mr. Kerry has qualified the Islamic regime as becoming a kind of democracy. I know one thing, that he has proposed to repair ties and repair damages with the mullah regime. This means a green light. Go ahead, do what you are doing. If I am elected, I will consider. That's, I think, the bottom line.
Any other questions? Thank you all very much for your attendance.